I actually care about the story. Now, I've dabbled in a little bit of alternate reality stories concerning Dragon Balls, such as the likes of Dragon Ball Sai, there is Kakame, which is doing the rounds, and of course some of the promotional anime for Super Dragon Ball Heroes, to which I really fell out of favour with, quite frankly, because they should have just used Raditz instead of that Kumba guy. However, a lot of my initial intrigue has come back thanks to the current arc within Super Dragon Ball Heroes called Ultra God Mission. And I'd like to present to you the good, the bad, and my overall thoughts about this latest arc and why I think you should give it a read. Wait, Masako, no, don't you mean watch? Well, I'm not going to be telling you about the promotional anime. I'm going to be telling you about the manga. And also, I don't feel that the promotional anime is really worth it still, but yeah, you can read the manga version. But before I tell you more, a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is supported by Ridge and their classic wallets and brand new key case.
You can say goodbye to bulky wallets and messy keychains.
With these sleek, modern and sophisticated offerings that easily fit in your pocket. With room for up to 12 cards and your regular paper money, these 5-star rated designs come in a wide range of finishes for anybody's tastes for the holiday season. It's a pretty and practical gift, and you can complement the wallet with the new key case. Perfectly made to store your keys and call upon them instantly. Get the best offer by visiting ridge.com/Masako right now to save up to 40% through December 2nd. That's ridge.com/Masako. Thank you! Yoshitaga Nagayama is the author of this side manga, produced for the purposes of promoting the Super Dragon Ball Heroes product, but is far less intrusive. I wanted to showcase Nagayama's original story, free from the padding of the animated version. Although, giving where credit's due, it has actually improved the visual quality of it and the pacing. It's all down to simplicity, even though I do know that Heroes isn't meant to be bonkers. Now, the good stuff about this narrative kicks off with the likes of the general premise. Quite frankly, this plot could easily have been thrown into a potential plot for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. And since Xenoverse is very well known amongst the fandom, it's something that I think a lot of people could get behind. I mean, we all know about Xenoverse right now. It's been around for nearly 7 years at this point, and with no sign of a realistic sequel coming out, and you're just going to be adding DLC to Xenoverse 2 for all of eternity, why not just add it into Super Dragon Ball Heroes? It's clearly a very perfect and successful formula, because there are plenty of characters to be seen here that you recognize from that video game, which is global, and you just add it to Super Dragon Ball Heroes to prop it up a little bit. You have Chronoa fighting the past. I think it's very, very cool. Time scrolls, the formula for Xenoverse is right back into this promotional anime, and it actually has an overall side effect of making people in the West actually give a hoot about your product. And maybe we might get a second chance as a Super Dragon Ball Heroes game, which wasn't, quite frankly, mediocre. The next thing about it is actually the main antagonist, and that is Aeos, a less mad Zeno and Zamasu compilation. And it's actually competent, and it actually kind of makes you want to know about more behind the realm of the Supreme Kai of Time. Why did Chronoa replace Aeos? Like, seriously, what happened? I'd like to know more about this. We might find out more about this in the future, but I guess the general gist of it is that, you know, Aeos is a little bit, too efficient. I've talked more about Aeos in this discussion up top, by the way, so if you'd like to get any more details about them, I've got that in that video. But essentially, Aeos, I think, is a breath of fresh air when it comes to antagonists within Super Dragon Ball Heroes. Honestly, I'm not really a big fan of Fu, because it just reminded me of Kabuto from Naruto way too much. Especially for the fact that just replace ninja info cards with histories and prison worlds, and they're basically the same. And we already have too many comparisons to Naruto, thanks to the Dragon Ball Super manga with the Susanoo clone that Goku had, so why do we need any more of that? Just go and watch Naruto. In terms of Aeos, the design, the overall composition, I like them a lot. Then there's the general concept of the plot. It's basically, again, Zeno Zamasu, only somewhat rational? According to Aeos, the idea is that there are too many time scrolls that Chronoa's been hoarding in her little office, so what better thing to do? Cut down on them some a little bit, because it actually really gets me thinking. Because you know how it was so confusing with time rings, how they can easily break things. Like, say, for example, Future Trunks goes back into the past, change something, and then boom, you get a time ring. And Beerus erasing Zamasu far too earlier. Boom, you get a time ring. So many time rings to be had. So why not get rid of some of them, which may not be relevant? I feel that actually this plot makes you think somewhat. sort of like how Hearts did in the earlier iterations of Super Dragon Ball Heroes. The only difference here is that you know Eos's premise right from the get-go, instead of with Hearts, who wanted to get rid of Zeno, you found out right before he actually disappeared. So it was like, I could have known that earlier. Now we actually know it earlier. You actually feel for Eos and you go, you know what? I actually kind of get it. I think you have a point there. And this being Dragon Ball, just throw in a little bit of peripheral things about tournaments and then you're good to go. Also, a reason why I like the manga more to the anime is that actually there are more interesting fights in this manga. For example, Vegeta gets to fight Turles, and I really don't know why Turles has Raditz's hairdo right now, or Super Saiyan 3 but black, and is this just to make me feel even more bitter that Raditz is not really involved in this aside from a little cameo? Come on, why are you teasing me like this, Shueisha? Bandai, please. And you also get some really cool additions from Xenopan, Xenogohan, Freezer and Cooler from different time zones. It's actually more intriguing. There are more characters talking, and there are different points of view going about. In the animated version, it's very, very cut down. You get Jiren, you get Hit, you get the guys from Universe 7, and that's basically it. Yeah, you get some more cameos, but they don't really speak. Yeah, okay, Turles is an exception. But again, that's Turles from Universe 7. Or from a universe where he forgot how to cut his hair. Well, actually, Saiyans don't cut their hair, but I don't get it. Also, Perfect Cell is here in the manga, and actually alluding to the fact that the Dwellers of Hell have actually escaped. So there's additional peril into this, which is sort of actually throwing the Eos thing into doubt, and maybe she went a little bit too ham on it, and now having to deal with something that came out of Fusion Reborn. But hey, I love Fusion Reborn, so I'm all for that. The next point is something they both share, and the fact that Yamcha's actually relevant, and it seems to be genuine. The fact is, though, is Yamcha is not the strongest warrior here, but he actually gets the point of the tournament and realizes, hey, we don't actually have to kill or defeat people. All we gotta do is catch the not snitch and we won, right, guys? Guys? Remember, this is actually a game? It's not just fighting. Yeah? Oh, hey, he actually scores a girl. So, good for him. This has actually been very, very positive for Yamcha fans. Then we have the Warriors in Black. Yes, it's not an overly original concept, but it is intriguing enough. Especially when you've got likes of Evil Piccolo Jr. over here. I'd like to see more about that. You see, the main thing that really turned me off of Super Dragon Ball Heroes, the promotional anime, and pretty much most of it, is the fact that it sort of goes too hard on the hero's premise of being bonkers and having alternate realities. I really could not keep up. Before, it was just a bunch of fighting and just smashing people together and just see what works. Now, though, there is actually a basic story, and yet it still holds the premise of Heroes' mantra, so it feels authentic to the product. So yeah, they've sort of made it more streamlined, and I appreciate that. Next one is about the proportions on display, because I know how you folks operate out there. Also in this one, Goku is more ruthless in the manga than he is in the anime. In the anime, he is very cut and dry, very typical of what you expect from Goku. There are some instances in here where Goku is a little bit more blunt, like how he just uses Eos's minion to transport and uses them as a shield and literally freezes them in time. You don't get that in the anime. So that's actually kind of cold there, Goku. Wow, okay. Well, alright. As for the stuff I'm not an overly big fan of, there are some things to be had. The artwork, and I will tell you right off the bat, and you've probably seen, it is ropey. It varies wildly in quality. But, okay, to be fair, it does improve over time, but even then, it's not Toyotaro levels of quality. Dragon Garo Lee got nothing on it. Realistically, it's near the bottom in terms of overall quality, but when you can look past that, you can actually think, it's Dragon Ball enough. The story does make up for it. I don't know, it's just something I really do need to mention. I mean, this is something that is symptomatic of pretty much most mediums of Dragon Ball. Goku is extremely overpowered here. The power scaling varies wildly, but that's just to be expected realistically. And the essence of friendship is very, very strong here. There's nothing wrong with friendship being the moral here, but it is very, very over-exaggerated here. And also when you're reading the manga, there are little messages popped up every couple of pages or so, and they really ruin the engagement of it, because they're just random, inane nonsense, like, I love Super Dragon Ball Heroes, and I want Goku to win! Well, if you want Goku to win, then you're gonna get Goku to win, so yeah, it just really pulls me out of the experience. Xenopan, even though she's there, is barely used, and is really used for mainly romantic gags, but I've already talked about that in a previous video. But I just get the feeling that realistically, they should have been a bit more specific about her feelings towards Hit. And unless you dig deep and actually realize, oh, it's just a childhood crush, it's nothing bad, it does make things a little bit awkward. Now, I will go back to the Warriors in Black here, and I do like them because of the intriguing premise of it, but yeah, I just still feel like that despite Yamcha getting the girl, sort of, I don't know why Vidro is there. I mean, that might be down to the fact that I'm ignorant about the Super Dragon Ball Heroes lore, but I feel like it sort of is a mismatch to what else they were going for with the other members of the squad. They all have some sort of a connection to the fighters that we know. Was it just really to add fan service or a female character into the mix? Well, if you were going to do that, why not you just add Android 18? You could have had the Android in Black. Missed opportunity there. But yeah, as you can tell, these aren't the biggest gripes I could possibly have, but they are there. And it is still not quite finished yet, but it's something I wanted to show. And besides, I have relatively low standards for Super Dragon Ball Heroes, and honestly, this story does exceed it already. I would recommend reading the Ultra God Mission manga instead of watching the anime, as it does cut out a lot of things that the manga has, and I feel like it actually generates more thoughts. I'll leave a link to it below, and let me know what you think of it and which medium you actually prefer. For now though, if you want to know more about the other big manga hit out there, here's my review of it up here.